well, Bin Laden's back. And
Somehow, Bin Laden returned. How does Star Wars loom over everything we do?
because that was he's returned. And, he's come to us in a time of need for Western Zoomers, apparently. I didn't see this one coming, but here we are.
Really? Who thought, okay, yeah, Western Zoomers are going to be like, Bin Laden, my new hero. He's the new Che Guevara.
The thing is, everybody insults Zoomers, but they really do like to take everyone by surprise. There's untold depths. There's
great.
Untold depths.
Oh, they've all joined ISIS, huh?
At least they're not boring to talk about. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do next.
Well, endorse Bin Laden, it seems. But if they'd like to endorse something else, they can go and check out the merch store, for example. We don't have any Bin Laden shirts, I'm sorry to say.
No, sorry. We've got shirts of respectable people like Wellington or Nelson or Marcus Aurelius or things that I like.
But we do need to get Bin
Aristotle,
Laden.
Maybe. You know, really good stuff.
What's Bin Laden's best quote?
Death to America.
I think we can sell that shirt.
What, to the TikTok Zoomers?
Yes, absolutely.
No, go and buy some wholesome shirts, not Bin Laden shirts, please.
But speaking of that, so Bin Laden has come back in a new form. He's got a new drip, it seems, which is this strip. He's decided.
I was hoping that you'd found
Oh
this.
God, how is
What?
it's just so stupid.
Yeah, people who don't know what the hell I am talking about. He's become very popular on TikTok, as you can see, which is quite an achievement for a dead man. In any normal place and time, it's a double achievement for an anti-Western, I don't know,
The
terrorist
architect
leader?
of the 9/11 attacks is suddenly popular with Zoomers.
Yeah. This is
I
what
wonder how John Cena feels about this.
So this is libs of TikTok pointing out that this is a trend, and this is the various TikToks. I suppose we're going to play them and just take a look at the state. So there's a local lady there saying, me when I got the news in 2011 that we got him.
To deceive you, my voice just wants to leave you.
Reading his letter, though.
And actually, before you even read the letter, I did want to mention, in reading the letter, I could only think of this tweet that I saw the other day. Under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier. So please keep that in mind when reading the letter.
We really need to stop paying taxes because they ain't doing nothing but messing up everybody else, and America is the bully. And it's sad because they have brainwashed us to think that we was the best country on the planet, when in reality, we're the worst fucking country on the planet.
It is just insane because this letter is so well written and so reasonably structured in an argument. Like, you got to present your findings, you got to state your cause, all of that. Like, everything he said was valid.
That's really interesting that the Zoomers are arriving at the Hassan Piker America deserved 9/11 position.
A lot of this is the result of sending people en masse to universities, because I love that analysis at the end there. Well, he cited his sources. he wrote the letter well. It's like, yeah, this is how everyone used to write years and years ago.
I assume you guys have both read Bin Laden.
I have not, so I can't comment on how well written it is or even what statements he's made. I'm sure there is parts of it where he's being accurate about how the America has behaved in its foreign policy.
Yeah.
Not really, to be honest, in my opinion.
Well, there are parts, but like,
I don't even think there are parts. I think we'll go through it in a minute.
yeah, the social aspect I find most interesting.
To end this off, you can see this is one of the other tweets about this that blew up. 37 million views on this tweet here, and it's more of the same.
America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And yeah, so go read it.
So I just read A Letter to America.
That one's too quiet, but I'll end it there. The point of this is
we get the point.
As this individual correctly assesses, this comes from TikTokers of all races, ethnicities, backgrounds, all saying they've had their eyes open and will never see geopolitical matters the same ever again, because they've never looked at geopolitical matters, to be frank.
Yes.
These individuals seemingly overrepresented as university educated, which is a whole other question. And then the aspect of them being complete morons who have read one argument against their position one time and then gone, oh my God, a different point of view. I'm going to make a video about this because that's all I can see out of this. These people aren't assessing the issues he discusses or anything of the sort. And we'll show that in a minute. But I do love the memes that have come out of this, if nothing else. The kids are going to love it. But whole other situation. But the letter blew up because, well, specifically the source they were using was The Guardian, because The Guardian had the letter listed as one of their pages, because back when it happened, they wanted it. And then as it was number 2 most viewed on the website, this years-old letter, they deleted it, as Glenn Greenwald correctly points out here. It's just removed document. That doesn't look weird at all. Of course, the archive still exists. You can go and read it in your full spare time, if you wish. And there you are, 20 years old, full text Bin Laden letter to America. And I'm not a big fan of Bin Laden.
Not really. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I kind of think it's kind of boring. There should have been another link in here in which we can see The Guardian actually did put out a note saying as to why they deleted this, in fact. And they say that the full transcript was published on our website, has been widely shared on social media without the full context. And that was the reason they deleted this archive link here. When it was not an archive link, obviously. But the thing is, that doesn't make any sense because you can see, like, this is full. If you wanted the context, it's all here.
Yeah.
You can read it all.
The letter itself is its own context. The link that they've added instead links to an article from The Observer at the time when he released it, which doesn't include the full letter and just says he's released this letter and here's a few excerpts of it. So if you're going to talk about which one has full and missing context, but are we expecting anything from
maybe they're thinking, well, in the context of people who don't remember 9/11.
So if you're wondering why exactly The Guardian decided to delete it, it's because they're afraid of being seen as anti-Semitic. That's the real truth.
Oh, really? Does Bin Laden say something about the Jews in this letter, does he?
Well, of course he does.
Oh, wow.
He's not a fan.
What about the homosexuals?
Not a fan either.
What about personal freedom?
Well, he's an Islamist. But they knew this when they published it in 2002.
Yeah, that's right.
But because it's blown up on TikTok and there's so much fear about being seen as anti-Israel or anti-Jewish at this point, that's why they deleted this. And
How does he feel about Israel then?
Well, you can read it, I suppose.
I know exactly what he thinks about all of these things.
But as you can see, people who haven't, question 1, why are we fighting and opposing you, America? Question 2, what are we calling you to, and what do we want you to call from? The point here is that the reason we're fighting you is because, well, the American empire accepts that its interests are more valid to it than Islamist interests all over the world.
It's not just Islamist, it's the interests of Islam.
It is Islamist. It's not.
Yeah, but that's what an Islamist is. They view all of Islam as like a single political power block. And so when he says, you attacked us and continue to attack us, it's like, you don't attack Bin Laden or the Saudis.
No. In fact, one of the examples he gives is the Americans turning up to protect the Saudi kingdom from Saddam Hussein and then liberating Kuwait. That's them attacking the Islamic world.
It's literally like BLM for Muslims.
It's not very coherent in my view. I mean, he gives a bunch of other examples that also is so iffy. Like, doesn't make any sense to defend. For example, Chechnya. He's just like, yeah, you attacked us in Chechnya. I was like,
what?
The Russians aren't the Americans, for one. But even if you want to take this in like a Christian context or something, like we're dealing with a jihadist insurgency. Like, there are still Muslims in Chechnya. It's a Muslim republic ruled by a Muslim leader.
Yeah, the Muslim leader was responsible for getting rid of the jihadis in Chechnya, wasn't he?
Yes.
So...
And then it just goes on and on. I mean, there's like the one in the Philippines he complains about. What else is there? Trying to think off the top of my head now, but you'd have to go back and read it. Yeah. It's not very...
There are a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's not very convincing in my view, looking at it. But that's because I at least know the history of the various attacks he's talking about. And if you don't, if you're a stupid Zoomer...
But the point is, these are all merely pretexts. Because, of course, he's not talking about, like, Muslim infighting or anything like that. That doesn't count as an attack on Islam, obviously, because it's 2 Muslims. So there's all just in-group, out-group, friend, enemy, all Muslims friends, all non-Muslims enemies. That's literally what he's reduced this to.
And none of the interventions make any sense. I can see the other ones here, for example. Somalia. It's like, yeah, you attacked us in Somalia. It's like the government collapsed and the UN turned up to try and help you because you people can't sit for 5 minutes without killing each other in Somalia. That's never been solved. Okay, so apparently that's our fault. Kashmir, the Indians.
Yeah, but also Jewish aggression against us in Lebanon. Sorry, when the jihadists took over Lebanon.
It's very unconvincing, to say the least. And his last complaint about this is that why do they hate America and want America to change?
I love his number one point. What do we want from you? Oh, just total conversion to Islam, actually.
Yeah.
An institution of the Sharia in your country, actually.
I'm trying to see where it gets to question 2 here. But he literally just this.
There we go.
Oh, there
we are.
The first
Become Muslims.
Yeah, calling us to Islam. Okay. And then he goes on about, and I love the way he frames Islam. Because, Islam is just peace and love and piety and goodness, and nothing bad ever happens in Muslim countries. Don't know why you evil crusaders aren't just hanging out daisies and Qurans.
It's the most unconvincing letter I've ever read. And then to see these people sitting there being like, this is amazing. Why didn't America just become Muslim in response to 9/11? I mean, are you a moron? Are you an actual moron?
Well, A, they're on TikTok, and B, yes.
Yeah, I suppose so. But this whole thing is just largely cope, frankly, from Bin Laden.
There's a part of me that's like, you got to kind of admire the chutzpah of it. Like, yeah, so we just bombed you. Maybe you should convert to our religion. It's like, why don't we hunt you down and kill you?
But obviously none of this is new. I mean, people have talked about this for ages. The first interaction the United States ever had with the Muslim world were its sailors being kidnapped and stolen into slavery. And then when I forget who it was, it might have been John Adams or someone.
No, went to Washington.
It was Jefferson.
Oh, it was Jefferson.
Yeah, he went to London and met with a representative from the Barbary States and asked them, look, we've had no quarrel with the Muslim world. We live an ocean away in the 1700s.
Why are you doing this?
What are you doing? And he just says, well, you're non-Muslims. We're Muslims. We are commanded by the Quran to take non-Muslims as slaves. So if you convert, everything will be fine. And what was the United States response was to turn up and bomb the Barbary States into submission.
Again, there's a part of me that just admires the balls on them.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been doing all this, and if you just convert, then it'll stop.
But the piece that most pick people up, I want to talk about Bin Laden himself later, because this whole letter is just such cope from him at this moment in time. That's because I like Bin Laden's history. I just think it's interesting. But to getting to the thing that most people focused on, which is the question about why didn't America become Islamic in response to 9/11? One of the points...
That's a big question. That's a real big question.
It's actually a really small question, I think, actually. Why didn't this Christian country convert to Islam?
Well, one of the points is Tim Paul noted here is like these leftist types on TikTok are all like, how did you miss this part of the letter where he says, we call upon you to be people of manners, principles, honor, and purity, to reject immoral acts of fornication, homosexuality, intoxicants, gambling, and trading with interest.
I love how they're all exactly the same. As they're all just as bad. Fornication, homosexuality, drinking, gambling, usury.
Yeah.
Like, all terrible.
But I do love how the Americans saw this part. The American right, I should say. And all they could focus on was the homosexuality.
But but good luck.
Didn't Bin Laden have like a harem of prostitutes?
No, he had 4 wives.
He also had loads of porn, though.
Yes, but that's...
But I just love, it's like, I'd like you to stop having sex outside of marriage, please. And the American Christians be like, okay, what about homosexuality? Yeah, nah. And what about beer? Just, mate, why didn't America convert to Islam?
But that's more the point I'm trying to get at, actually, because modern America, I mean, in 2002, obviously, there may have been a different conversation, but modern America, the American right picked up on the homosexuality aspects. I mean, even in the memes here, where it's like, the Muslim comes in the room. America is a land of godless homosexual degenerates. Oh, sweet. America is a land of godless homosexual degenerates as the Christian. And they all get worried. Is that was the only part of that conversation there that actually riled up American society. The rest of it, not a concern, actually. Not a thing, but whole other time. To get back to the question of his letter being cope, just because if anyone wants to learn anything about actual Bin Laden,
I'm surprised
instead of just
as a quick thing, I'm surprised the sort of persistent and deeply running theme of death to all the Jews, and you're helping the Jews and controlled by the Jews, and therefore we hate you, wasn't more picked up on as well.
Not really a debate.
No.
If you talk to
you've supported the idea in the Jerusalem is the capital of the Jews. It's like,
he goes on and on about how you've supported the Jews against the Muslims, and the Judeo-Christian alliance is trying to destroy us, so that's why we bombed you.
Yeah,
and that wasn't a point of debate. You rightly say.
Yeah,
the two camps are solid.
Yep.
But moving on, because getting back to bin Laden, you can go and read his declaration of jihad against Americans as well, which I think gives much better context.
Hey, that's another thing, the total war aspect as well. He's just like, well, the American army is made up of Americans, so I'm going to bomb Americans to get the American army.
All right. But you can see he just goes on, he's like, yeah, you bombed us in Tajikistan, Burma, Kashmir, Assam, Chechnya. I mean, half these places, who even knows? Where is Ogaden?
Yeah, but I have no idea. But when did we bomb Eritrea?
I don't know. We never even intervened in Eritrea, actually, NATO, as far as I'm aware.
In the Philippines. That's Christian.
So that was basically a terrorist insurgency. So the Filipino government put it down, which means America did it. Yeah, it's not...
I mean, the Philippines have been kind of protectorate of America, haven't they? So maybe.
I've never been impressed with bin Laden's writing, which is why I get back to that point where that, university lady was like, oh, it's written so well. He's really not. He's really just very basically laying out politely, here's what I believe. And that was enough. That's how much we've degenerated. But the interesting point about when I say this is all being cope is that he goes on here, this is before 9/11, his jihad against Americans. Right. And the entire context of this really is him talking about Saudi Arabia. It's just Saudi politics because this is a message to the Muslim world. And then when he speaks to Americans after 9/11, he phrases it all around Palestine and whatnot. Of course, he brings it up in here. But his main gripe always was about Saudi politics.
Right. Well, I mean, he was a Saudi.
Yeah, but also he's kind of retarded. So,
sure.
Do you know about, so Kuwait gets invaded. And obviously the Saudi kingdom is like, oh, we don't have an army.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have one. Who's got one? Oh, well, our friends, the Americans. How about we just use theirs? And, bin Laden gets really pissed off. Goes to the king and is like, bro, just use my boys. You know those boys I took to Afghanistan? They've all got AKs. Yeah, we can defend Saudi, bro. And the Saudi king is just, like, entertaining this idiot. And then says, well, what happens when Saddam Hussein uses chemical warfare? And the bin Laden's response is that, we'll use the
we'll end up in Jinnah,
brother. Well, he literally says God will protect us. And the Saudi Minister of Defense is looking at him like, this guy's retarded. So,
just how many tanks do you actually have? Because Saddam's got hundreds.
Yeah. I mean, for all the conversation you can have about the Christian world or whatever, when you actually meet these people and their suggestions, like, he's genuinely an idiot. It's just embarrassing reading what he writes and how he thinks about the world, because it's just like, you have no idea. So, retarded opportunist. I mean, you can see here, it's just like, yeah, my main gripes is the Saudi kingdom isn't more Islamic. Yeah, that's the real problem.
There are arguments, actually, but yeah, I'm not going to...
And then it uses the American Crusaders to defend itself. It's like, bro, the Crusaders are liberating Kuwait. This has nothing to do with Islamism. This is about Baathism versus Kuwaiti independence. Whatever.
I mean, it just seems to be woke Islam that he believes in, right?
Yeah, like bin Laden is kind of embarrassing, frankly. Yeah, when you interact with him.
But he's like the woke version of an Islamist. It's like an Islamic scholar or whatever.
Like when you meet someone who's so ideologically obsessed, like everything, bro, is about my ideology and how there's big conspiracy between the two different groups. It's like, nah, maybe it's about, these various countries' ruling classes trying to keep their ruling titles and money. No, okay, whatever. Yeah. But whole other thing. Turns out there's actually a big fight on TikTok right now.
Yes.
Because of Israel-Palestine.
Really?
So this is Visegrad saying that, letter to America is blowing up on TikTok. Meanwhile, they're banned. And this is because Visegrad, obviously being Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary, has...
wildly anti-Bin Laden, I imagine.
Well, they've become very pro-Israel recently, which a whole other conversation. But because of that stance, they ended up getting banned on TikTok. So there's now a big movement from the pro-Israel types in the United States to get TikTok curtailed, to say the least. And I don't know how
this is what does it.
Yeah.
This is what does it.
Whatever.
Remember all these conversations?
I'm just going to take the win. All right. I'm just going to take the win. I'm just beyond this sort of, it's not for the right reason. Just get rid of it.
Well, all these debates about getting rid of TikTok because it's a Chinese spy app. It's it's run by the CCP.
None of that.
Also, the FBI. The FBI had involvement in it as well.
It's making everyone an insane wokist. Like, none of these are good enough.
The American elite, the people who are actually in charge, they don't really care about any of that. The real problem was when Israel-Palestine started up and now. So you could see TikTok here saying they're going to prohibit these videos and take them down because they're worried about getting banned from the American market.
Yeah.
And it's not an unfounded worry for them either.
No.
But there we have it, which is that, well, bin Laden's back in town. If you want to read more about him, do go and do that. But maybe not from retarded leftists on TikTok there. Not the smartest people.
Thanks for watching that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're interested in finding more of what we do, you can subscribe to the website for as little as £5 per month, which will give you access to all of the video series that we do, including Stelios' Symposium, the most recent episode, 43. He sat down with Charlie Downs to discuss ideology. As well, at the moment, if you use code BIRTHDAY on Stripe when signing up, you can get 33% off of your first 3 months of your subscription to the website, so take advantage of that while you can. Furthermore, if you'd like to follow Stelios and see what he's doing on a daily basis, then you can follow him on Twitter at, and I'm never going to get this right, Panagiotou, I think I got that right, 90ST. Thanks very much again for watching and take care.